Okay, now let's get to the grooming portion. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I got the right blade on there. I want my number 10. Make sure it's nice and hooked up. I have power, pushed in. Throw it in, hold the blade in my wrist, make sure that everything's nice and cool. If the blade is too hot for the inside of your wrist, just like the water temperature and just like anything else that heats up, it's too hot for the inside of your wrist, it's too hot for the dog's skin. So his hair is so fluffy, I'm even having trouble finding it with just my fingertips, which would make it completely understandable why this would be that spot that groomers and owners alike we miss. It actually looks like these tangles back on this part are breaking up with just my comb. However, I do know the other side is way thicker than what my comb can take out. I'm also finding with my comb as I go through the ear once more that we do have another mat that just kind of keeps on getting missed. You will have these guys, they'll be completely detached from the actual coat, but since the coat is so thick, they just hang out in there. And that can lead to that mat re-evolving. Alright, that ear's good. There we go, that's that snag place that I was thinking it was. And it's just far too tight. My comb can barely get under some of those, so we're just going to go ahead and be safe with that number 10. When taking out these guys behind the ear, you want to make sure that you only take out what's necessary. Don't go crazy because it'll mess with the shape of your head after a little while. You take out too much. Just take out what you can. It doesn't even have to be all of the mat. Just take out enough of the mat that you can brush out the rest. Awesome. Just that really, really tiny spot right there. Once that ear comes down, can't even notice it. All right. So now that we do that, there's two different things that we can do for teddy bear faces. You can either take your thinning shears in between the eyes, just right here in the corners, which is traditionally what I kind of like to do. It keeps it more of a fluffed out kind of look. However, I'm going to use a combination of thinning shears in between his eyes and my number 10 blade, just because I want to make sure that we can keep a lot of his vision for as long as possible. However, make sure to keep those eyelashes. Good boy, buddy. So a lot of the times, one of the biggest mistakes that people, once they do it, they kind of come all the way through on the bridge with the number 10. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of times if your client is looking for that puppyish look, they're kind of looking for the way that that dog's face looked when it was first born, how it naturally grew out. And that's almost impossible if you take the number 10 all the way through. Come here, babe. There's a good boy. You're so good, buddy. Alright, so for the most part, we got in between those eyes all finished. We're going to come back towards the end whenever we're actually taking care of his teddy bear head. But I just really like to get that first initial cut in between those eyes and then move on to the rest of the stuff that I can do with my number 10 blade. So after we went ahead and we took care of behind the ears, we also took care of the corner of the eyes. We're going to go ahead and stand him up and we're going to do the inside of the sanitary area, unfortunately, as he's getting comfortable. So we're going to try to maybe let him see if he can lay down for right now. We can do a sanitary that way. If not, we're going to stand him back up. Roll over for me. Oh, no. He took that as an invitation, so let's get going. All right. So this is going to be one of those times that you do have to kind of crane their leg over a little bit more so than will be most comfortable. We're going to try and make it as little impact as possible by bending our body forward as well. So go ahead and readjust this so you can see where we're at. All right, I'm going to grab the tail as well so I can make sure it's not brushing in my face while we're doing this. I'm going to grab right here, bend up and out, and as quick as possible with my number 10 blade. Always make sure to recheck your blade before you even turn it on. Now some people will ask, you know, why not a number 15 blade on the sanitary, or why not a 30 or a 40? Because they are shorter, and you want it to be as short as possible, right? Of course you would like it to be as short as possible, but you also like it to be done as safe as possible. And the number 10 blade is going to be your safest blade. With all those other blades, yes, they will get shorter, but you also increase your chances of nicking him in a really sensitive spot. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be nicked in that area. Grab the tail again just like we did before. And we'll lift up the leg, move as fast as possible while still being safe. Alright, good boy. Alright, now that we got that all cleaned up, move them over a little bit this way, and we're going to do the sanitary area on the butt. This part's very important. When you do the sanitary area from the hole, you're going to want to go out like a compass. Never move the clipper over the actual anus, otherwise if you nick that area, it is very difficult to get the bleeding to stop and it's very painful. So we'll lift up. We're going to go in and out, never over. Alright, looks like we're encountering some gnats. We're just going to shave those out while they're here since it's super close to the skin. And go down and out. Move the clipper over again. Pull it outwards. And a little more detail work just to make sure we're nice and clean and we don't have to come back. And voila! Alright. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to attach my 30 blade, and we are going to do the inside corner of the ear so we can get that increased airflow that we were talking about earlier, and we're also going to do our paw pads. Alright, if you sit, good boy. You can even lay down if you want. Alright. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift the head. Up, up, up. Good boy. We're going to flip it open. So like I said, these breeds are very prone to ear infections. And he's got a lot of stuff up in here. I also know that when we do pluck too much of his ear hair, he is also prone to ear infections. So we're going to shave most of this out. That way we're not irritating anything deep in the canal. Other dogs will be different and will be able to take out more ear hair. Some will be able to take out less ear hair. And some dogs will not be able to have their ear hair taken out at all. That is one of the things that you need to make sure that you talk with your client at check-in, especially with these type of dogs, is that they are prone to ear infections, especially during the plucking of their ears. If you get any sort of guess or inkling that there could be a problem, the best course of action is to recommend that the vet administer that service. Not because you don't want to, because we always want to do what's in the best interest of our pets health-wise, but just for their safety. You don't have the means to take care of an infection or something more serious than just some run-of-the-mill ear hair. So if there are any health problems when it comes to ear hair, always err on the side of caution. You do not want to exacerbate an issue that's already there that could have been avoided if a vet took care of the problem. Are you comfy, Bobas? Okay, now we're going to stand it back up. Up, up, up. Good boy. Bring him back. Whoop, whoop. There we go. Nope, not too far. All right. Stay. All right, so very gingerly pick up the back foot. He's got tons of stuff in there. So with these type of blades, you want to just let them do the work for you. It's not necessary to do too much crazy digging. It's not necessary to push with any real sort of serious effort, because these 30 and 40 blades are very, very sharp. And like I said, they will do the work for you if they are well maintained. I always like to have two 30s on hand, one that I use for the ear corners, and one that I use, or the ear corners and the paw pads, and one that I use for my guard combs. It's always good to have doubles of every blade that you're going to be using on the dog, just in case you don't have any cool care on hand, or a cooling stone. Good boy, bud. It's okay, buddy. Almost done with his foot. So he's getting a little bit antsy, kind of wanting to play DJ a little bit more. And he's craning his foot even more so in the opposite direction, which is exacerbating the issue. So we're just going to see if he can work a little bit quicker without putting his paw down. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to. Come on, Bear. No, sir. So a lot of the times, actually every time that I do a grooming, I usually like to get the nails done first, even before my bath process. However, working with Bear the past couple times, I've noticed that if I dive straight into the nails, it kind of sets his anxiety through the roof before we even get started. And no real amount of breaks will kind of bring him back down. So every dog is different. Sometimes you just got to change up your game, even if it kind of messes with your feng shui a little bit, you got to work with them. All right. Who's that? Good boy. Okay, buddy. You doing okay? that we've got those steps done, we're going to go ahead and dive into the body. So you can still keep your 30 blade on there. There's only a handful of blades that you can use your guard combs with. It's going to be your number 10 blade, your number 15 blade, and your number 30. Any other blades, it's not going to work. If you use a number 40 on these metal guard combs, I can almost guarantee you that you're going to damage not only your blade, but you could also damage the guard comb. So at the beginning of this filming, I know that we said that we were going to do a 1/2-inch guard comb all over, but after we got them all fluffed out, I really think that the 5/8 guard comb is going to take off what the client wanted. So we're going to go ahead and modify this to a 5/8 guard comb all over. 5/8 is also an O guard comb for those that only go on numbers or letters. Stand up. Good boy. So he is getting a little bit more passive aggressive for it. Just kind of like not really wanting to move or do a whole lot of the grooming anymore. He's kind of had it, which is understandable. We've been doing this now going on about 3 hours or so, breaks all included. So what I'm doing is I'm just starting under the neck. A lot of the times dogs will have flaps in the necks, where you'll have to go on ahead and spread like this, and then go down safely. Otherwise that skin is going to get sucked up into that guard comb, and that's no good for anybody. Also, right here in the chest is going to be these 2 divots. You're going to want to go ahead and pull that out a little bit. That way you can get that even cut all the way down. Same go from the other side. It's looking like my cat is going to be joining the party for some emotional support while we work on hair here. So if we had not gone and made him completely dry and then completely brushed him out to make sure that all the tangles were gone, we would not be able to go through this coat successfully with the guard comb like we're doing right now. We will be getting snag after snag after snag and having to go back with that slicker brush anyway, and having to stop the clippers, pick up our brush, redo that process in that spot, and then pick up where we left off. So we just went ahead and did that entire step all in one. So that way we're not wasting time picking up and putting down our tools. Will you be successful like that every time? No. Will you be successful sometimes? Yes. And that's all we can actually ask for inside the grooming world. Just try to be successful and cut down that time. That way the dogs aren't sitting inside your salon for hours on end. Because as much as it is a spa day, we all know that they would like to go back to mom and dad. Alright, there you go, good boy. care that I'm getting off in this first step is just all around the neck and around the body. We're going to be saving the legs and the head for last. In that order, legs are going to come right after the body. And then we're going to go ahead and take care of the head, and then we'll come back and we'll finish those feet. Especially because, like I was saying before, whenever we start messing with Bear's feet too much, it seems to raise his anxiety more than any other part of this process. So we're just going to save that for last. We already kind of pushed our luck with shaving those paw pads too early. Good boy. So I do know that I just said that we were going to be doing our legs last, but he kind of just gave me the opportunity to do the outside of this hip. Didn't really want to move him when he was kind of slowly moving that way anyway. Kind of like what we were doing with the dryer. My usual steps would be to follow that process of doing around the neck, the chest, the body, to the legs, the face, and the feet. However, right now we're just going to do what he kind of wants to do. That way we can get him done comfortably. in for another one. So he's kind of getting to that point where he's, like I was saying earlier, a little bit tired of the grooming. So I'm going to assess him over the next couple minutes and see if he's going to be needing another break or not. If he does get another break, it's only going to be a couple minutes just so we can get him done. Back to mom and dad. Hi, Miss Phoebe. See that right? Phoebe, come on, sweetie. You gotta get down. My cat really wants to be in this video. Okay. Spin, 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 spin. Spin, 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 spin. Good boy. Alright, so what we're going to do for his head, so we're going to start out long and work our way down. Oops, gotta clean those glasses off. Alright, so we got our E-guard comb on there. And grab our slicker brush. Brush all this forward. And my comb. Do the same thing. Barely took off really anything. You can lay down, buddy. Just get to work on your head. Alright, so that actually took off pretty much what we wanted to. Normally, that disparity in guard comb wouldn't take off the amount that you need, but with the way that his hair growth is, that actually worked really well. So while keeping in mind that we have to keep those eyelashes, I'm going to come right across the middle first. And then I'm just going to make a hard cut when I see that all the bangs underneath the eyelashes are left alone, so I can get that out of the way. Not have to be constantly guessing where it's at. Alright, so now that I got those bangs established and the eyelashes kind of out of the way, I'm just going to go ahead and look for that line that I had made with my guard comb. It's going to be real easy to see, just all those hairs that stick up that you can see through the body. Just keep your hand very still in a fixed position, but keep those shears moving with just that thumb. You keep your shears moving with other parts of your hand, you're guaranteed to get some recoil, and that's going to give you some divots in that nice circular part of the head on top and on the sides. Doesn't look like I'm taking off very much, but in reality this shaping is going to do just enough to make it give that crisp, nice look that you're wanting for these teddy bear heads. Just go ahead and fluff it up a little bit, brush it back and forth, see what else pops up, do the whole thing over again. You can do that as many times as it takes until you get that desired effect, no matter how much you brush the hair back and forth. Because when you think about it, when people brush their dogs' heads, all that hair is going to pop up as soon as they're back home. Client's going to see that, they're probably going to bring it back. Don't need to give yourself more work on a different day when you can get it done that same day. So luckily with Bear, I'm not starting from scratch. He already has a really good shape to his face since we've been doing a lot of grooming on him. So I'm pretty much just maintaining what he already has done. I like to give just gentle blows in the face instead of trying to move it out with my comb, especially if the dogs will tolerate it. Some dogs, absolutely, they will not tolerate it, but Bear and I have been working closely together, so he's totally fine with it. Now you'll notice in his beard, we didn't do any trimming on his face yet, but right here, we can see that there's a hard cut. And that could be from one of two things. That could either be from us taking out the tangles with a slicker brush, but it doesn't really look like it's a slicker brush out. It kind of may look like something had been cut right here, potentially at home. It's always good to inquire with your clients if there was a tangle there they couldn't get out, was too much food getting in, because a lot of the times, more often than not, it's because, you know, the dog was just bringing in the food bowl to me after he was done eating, or, you know, every time that my dog goes to get something to drink, just all of that comes back. So that, at that point, you can talk about what you can do next time for the grooming, or even while they're still there, you can maybe ask they want to take it a little bit shorter on the muzzle. More often than not, if that is the problem, the drinking or the food, they'll ask you to take a little bit tighter so that way they don't have any of those cuts that they have to do at home. Alright, so I'm just going to place my hand around his muzzle. As you can see, his mouth is still open. This is just to maintain a little bit of control on where his head is moving. But if he really wants to move his head, he has complete mobility. And it's never a good idea to keep a dog's mouth shut that doesn't want their mouth shut. Again, try to look at dogs as if they're really, really sweet 2-year-olds. You know, they wanna please you for the most part, but they're gonna do what they're gonna do, especially if you try to force them to do something. It's usually a no-go. Alright, so all I did there is I brushed down his lip line just to kind of get that old line back to where it was before. You could definitely see what had grown out and what was where the line was placed before. And we're just bringing it back up maybe just about a ½ inch or so. Looking nice, just with a handful of cuts, nothing even too crazy. Not a whole lot of shaping that needs to go down here. He's already got that nice shape. So pretty much just going with what we already had. So what I'm going to do now is some of those spots that I kind of have some harsh cuts, I'm going to go back with my thinning shears, just blend some of that in. That way it doesn't look like I just kind of hacked at it. It looks nice and smooth. Teddy. You stand up? Good boy. Just a little tickle and he comes right up. Just doing a little bit of trimming on that elbow just to kind of bring that point in. It's a guard comb, then I'm going to bring it down. Okay, so we're going to see how he does with the nail trimming first. And then we're going to go ahead and follow up and trim these paw pads down. Looks like his nails are pretty short as is. He does a lot of walking on a regular basis, so we're not going to take too much of this nail off. If we take too much off, and he goes to immediately walk on cement, or he wants to get excited and riled up, he's going to tear these quicks right open. So if you're dealing with a fairly active dog, or if you're dealing with a dog that likes to pull while they're being walked on cement, or things like that, you're definitely not going to want to Dremel or trim too terribly short. Good boy. No, stay. A couple of hairs that we missed before in the head. Pretty messy right there. Just like a brush, I'm comb some of that stuff up. Actually being very well behaved, all things considered, for how much he's not a big fan of his feet being done. Good boy, buddy. Good boy. Noticing he's got a little bit of a tangle in between this paw. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my thinners real quick and just break that up as much as good. Looky there. That way I'm not going in with my actual curves or straights and cutting that out, or even my clippers, and it doesn't leave like a big chunk taken out of his foot in between his toes. Stand up, buddy. You're almost done. Almost done. Almost done. All right, we can actually. Oh, we can sit for this one. Good boy. Same thing going on between these toes. Perfect. Everything came out. You stand up. Good boy. Almost done. Alright, you got one more foot. So if memory serves me well, I want to say that we actually leave his ears and tail natural, which to be honest I think looks really nice on him anyway. It's looking like he has just about had it with his grooming day today. I'm going to give him one more brush out with a slicker brush on his ears, make sure that all that hair is off his head, his face. One more spotty, a couple more trimmings is all. And to finish off this beautiful boy, we have a nice patriotic flag for our veteran friends. All right, and there you have it. This is Bear. He's got his full bath, blow dry, brush out. He got a 5/8 guard comb all over with the teddy bear head. We keep the eyelashes and we let the ears and the tail natural. We got a nail trim, not a nail grind, because his quicks are right there at the edge, and I do know that he spends a lot of the times doing some athletic things, especially walks pretty regularly. Also, the last time that he got him cut too short, he was so excited to see Mom and Dad. He actually did have that story happen to him where he tore open his nail. So we're going to go on ahead and send him home now. Thank you so much for joining us.